I'm calling the Parks Committee to order. Oh, God. This been a morning. When you're trying to multitask, it doesn't help either. So that's what the issue is. Good morning, everybody. Hold on 1 minute. I was trying to share the screen so I could do what I was supposed to do. Is shoot, I don't remember how to do all that stuff. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we're calling the Streets Committee to order. Miss Clerk, would you please?
This is the Parks Committee. We're not.
Oh Lord, I keep saying streets.
I object to that.
Just said it
you
earlier.
Just can't wait for streets. You're just so excited for streets.
See, I just said that again. I am sorry.
No problem.
I am calling the Parks and Environmental Committee to order. Ms. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Bucoro. Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Morton.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Peel.
Here.
Chairwoman Boyd.
Present.
6 present, you have quorum.
Thank you. I would now at this time like to do the approval of minutes from Wednesday, July the 14th.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I move to approve the minutes of, when was the date?
July the 14th.
July 14th, 2021.
Could we get a second?
Second.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, we don't have any boards to review at this time or resolutions.
Right. We have to vote.
Yes. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Clerk, could you please, could we get a vote?
Alderman Bucoro. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Morton.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Chairwoman Boyd.
Aye.
6 aye votes.
All right. Now we're on committee discussions. We have item number 1. And Ms. Clerk, could you please read that for me, please?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Fund availability for parks and related matters. The committee will hold a discussion and review presentations from representative of the City Parks Department related to the fund availability for parks in each ward and the sources of these funds, the recent tour of parks by BOA Parks and Environmental Matters Committee, recommendations for SLMPD and Park Rangers, and an update on staffing for parks, recreation, and forestry.
All right, thank you. We do have 2 speakers that'll be on this morning to talk in regards to the funds availability for parks and related matters. I did call each alderperson that I could reach, and then I did talk to BPS people to talk to them to make sure that they had conversation with their prospective alderpersons and they were in agreement. I sent questions to Kimberly Hagley in regards to some of the parks and some of the improvements that were wanted to be made from those alder people and changes. So now this is my question, Alderwoman Tyus, do they have to be sworn in?
They really don't. That's really for, you can if you want to. The chair always has the ability to swear anybody in who testifies before the committee. You do not have to do them. You do have to do it from outside sources who are coming to testify, but these are within our city. So that's your choice.
Okay, all right. And so now at this time, we'll have Commissioner Greg Hayes. He can start the conversation, and then Kimberly Hagley can finish up.
And Pam, I apologize. I couldn't get into my computer, but I'm here now, and I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hayes, you're on mute.
Bear with me just a second. Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Let me get my screen up here, or not my screen, but okay. So yes, I do have a report, and I don't know why I'm having a little bit of a computer glitch. I cannot pull something up that I had. Can you give me just 2 minutes?
Mm-hmm. You want Kim to start?
Yeah, I have all the information you requested. I'm confident of that. But if Kim starts, I wouldn't need much. But yeah, I just don't want to delay anybody. I'll have it all in front of me. It's not pulling up.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Miss Kim.
So what I have in front of me that Alderwoman Boyd was referring to are the park projects that are coming out of our neighborhood park funds and then our metro park funds. There's actually 3 pots of money. Most of you know this, neighborhood parks funds, and that comes from the lease, the BJC lease. And then we have the 2 metro parks, 3/16 and 1/10 sales tax projects. So the neighborhood park funds don't require the match. Most of you I have spoken with at some time are aware of projects that needed to be done. This comes from the initial inquiry that I make in February and March with the application process. It also stems from our ward capital meetings that we did this year, and just general conversation emails with the aldermen and women of what's going on in their parks and things that they wanted to see change. So this is an accumulation of all of that. So I don't know how you want to do this, Alderwoman, if it's just a review. That's how we've done it in the past, and then we vote on each one, and then it goes to the full board.
Okay, so what we did, what I asked the clerk to do, she had, and I tried to do it, so I had it back up. She sent the documents to everybody. So did everybody get the documents via email? Did anybody not get the documents?
I don't remember getting it, but maybe
Rita sent it this morning.
Yeah, I just opened my computer and saw that.
Let me
Okay.
set under the Google Google document.
No, she just sent the email that Kim has sent.
Okay, let me.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Alderwoman Tyus.
Madam Chair, I would like at least time to go over this thing and not just vote it out today, if that's all possible, and have because we're just getting this is what I'm just getting today. I want to go over, and I want to go over what I turned in versus what's in here. Okay.
I mean,
right, that's just my request.
Okay, that's, as a committee, you all can make that decision. I apologize because Kim had sent it yesterday, but I didn't see it, and I got it this morning, but I was trying to make sure I reached out, like I said, to each alderperson. Alderwoman Tyus, I had reached out to her, and then we started talking about something totally different.
But I did turn in, Madam Chair, and I don't see it. I turned in to Donald Williams several projects that are not in here. Yeah,
because that's what I found out when I talked to him, and so he added projects. So that's when I said, I started calling him, and then I had called the other BPS guy. What's his name? I had called Andrew. So I called Andrew and I called Donald. because all the persons that I didn't speak to, I relied on those BPS guys to say, yeah, and that's when Donald added some stuff, Alderwoman Tyus, that you had, that it wasn't on this sheet. And so I sent that over to them to say, this is from Alderwoman Tyus, what she had on there for her parks, but now you tell me some other stuff. So I'd rather make sure, my goal is to make sure that everybody's on the same page. I understand that the Parks Department wants to pass this out, but I want to make sure that the older people are comfortable about what's on the list so they can make sure that they're moving forward on their projects. So did anybody else see something else on there that they didn't have?
Alderwoman Tyus, Donald did reach out to me concerning the bollards at Penrose Park. So I do know about that one.
And the fencing.
See, he didn't tell me about the fencing, Alderwoman.
We met back in April. That's how long ago I turned it in.
Okay. So it was fencing and the ballots were the two things that wasn't on the list.
I'm just getting it, so I need to go back.
Yeah, you don't know. Yeah,
right. I got a list. I actually put my stuff in writing. You know that, okay?
Right. And
right.
so
I do remember the layout that Donald sent over. So
we had talked about the barbecue pits,
yes,
outside the pavilion with the
right,
slabs.
Right.
And then now I'm hearing the ballards and the fencing.
And the ballards were at Handy Park because that's where people were going through and they're parking in Handy Park. So I don't want to weigh us down with all the stuff about the first ward. You know what I'm saying? I just want to get that out and I'll get it back to them. I'll go through it and send it back to them. But yeah, that was in the Handy Park, it was about the ballards. And it was also some more fencing in Handy Park because I paid for fencing a long time ago, but they left big gaps, which has allowed people to just drive into the park, which I hate people parking in the park on the grass.
Right. Okay. Did anybody else have any concerns? Was pretty much everything on there that you all had asked for?
Well, I'm looking myself right now and I don't see under although I'm only on the first page, under the neighborhood parks, I don't see anything for either Lindenwood or Phyllis Park.
So under the neighborhood parks, for Lindenwood, we have resurfacing the playground. Under Metro Parks, under the 316, we have the playground resurfacing at Lindenwood, mulch the swing area at Lindenwood, and begin the building design and construction repairs.
So nothing under the neighborhood parks then?
No, you have resurfacing the playground at Lindenwood under neighborhood parks.
Maybe I'm, see on the sheet I have.
It's further down. It's like item 118. It took me a minute.
Well, it must go way down then. So mine only goes to, mine only goes, on the spreadsheet down to 30 and then that's it. But maybe there's three more of these and I'm doing it on the same computer.
There's three pages to neighborhood parks.
Okay.
That's the biggest one.
I think the problem is, well, I believe what you're saying because I'm doing this on.
Yeah, and your transfers have already gone through for all.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to trust that it's there. Can I ask a simple question or Madam Chair, did you want to go in order or do you want to do that?
You can ask a question.
Okay. So, and I don't disagree with delaying this, but I also worry about some of these projects when we've been waiting 2 years for. Is it by us waiting another week or a day or whatever, is this going to delay this again? Kim, I think I'm asking you or someone.
So what happened with your situation, Alderman Vaccaro, is we met before the
No, I guess
before we had all these meetings. So we still had to go through that whole process. So we kind of did things a little backwards. So that's why it looks like it's taking so long. We met out there with some of your neighborhood constituents, and I can't do anything until we have those ward capital meetings, and then we go for the approval before the park committee. So
okay, so I understand that. What I'm saying is, by not voting this out today, how, you know, I guess if we set another meeting up, probably, I don't know how fast we can get another one, but how far off, I mean, how much are we delaying these projects that I'm getting beat up on all the time?
So, you know, depending, as soon as I get the approval, I'm able to start moving forward with these. And luckily, I have Michael Scott now. He is our engineering technician for the Parks Department. I've been without that position for almost 2 years. So once we get the approval, we're gonna start collecting. We've already started collecting some of the information and putting together packages that we turn over to the Board of Public Service so that they can get moving on the projects. And we have now we have a playground contractor on board. Supply division got that signed off on. So any playgrounds we'll give him all at once, and he'll start working through those. So I would imagine you still though wouldn't see work on this until spring and summer of next year.
And the work on the building.
Right, we're gonna, on that, you're hiring a designer first to give us the cost breakdown and the assessment of the building, so we can come up with a construction cost.
I mean, but we've already paid, so.
Yeah, your money is already in place. Your transfers are done.
Okay, well, the only reason I was asking is
Give me some water.
Again, it seems to me like nothing's gonna happen until spring anyway, but I would say, Madam Chair, if we do not vote this out today, we should do something pretty fast so that this way we're not into a longer delay.
And I don't have a problem with that, but I wanted to make sure that all the older people that's impacted were able to make sure that our I's were dotted and T's were crossed. Alderman Tyus, I'm sorry, Alderman Bakar, will you finish?
Well, not everyone that's getting park work is on this committee or in this group. So
I called them though. I called people that weren't on the committee, Alderman Bakar.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, I called everybody that I had on that list.
Okay, the only thing I would say is that if we don't pass it out today, we should probably, of course.
We can look to meet up again, next week to kind of finalize it so that we can vote on it for them. You're on mute.
I didn't have anything exciting. I was saying that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Tyus and then Alderwoman Peel afterwards.
Okay, I was just going to say, I was going to ask you if we could meet next week. It's not going to impact, because I do want to go over this, and I want to also just get out my emails, and because we emailed back and forth. That's why I don't understand that. But the alternative, if they want to do this, just give me my $140,000 that I gave to Forestry back, and then we'll be good. So we're going to do one or the other. So you just put my $440,000 when you guys didn't have any money back, and I'll be okay. Or otherwise, I'm going to insist that we wait so I can go over what's missing here, okay? Because I had money that I actually gave to Forestry to keep them going.
So let's wait and then set up a meeting for next week, Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Peel. Alderwoman Peel.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. A question I had, and I would like to review this more, is I see in my ward, it says irrigation for the Forest Park median. And so my question is, because that's something I didn't see that I put on a list. So I was just wondering when were these decisions made in terms of putting different requests on the list? Was this before my time in terms of I am a new alternate? And
yes, Ron Coleman.
Okay. And so when was that request put out to all the alder people?
It was in February, March of 21.
Okay. Thank you.
That was it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Navarro.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just have a question. Maybe you can just remind me. So we don't have a board bill before us, correct? So I'm curious what the procedure is for vote. So is our vote like a preliminary approval of these and then a board bill is drafted, or can you remind me, you know, what the process is for voting on what we're reviewing today? Thank you.
And so I go to Alderwoman Tyus because she's shaking her head and I'm totally lost trying to figure this out.
So the Parks Committee, we are the final approval. When we pass a resolution, that is the final approval. There are several committees that have final approval, like Public Safety has some things that they are final approval on. Parks Committee, this money is a final approval. So when we pass the resolution, that's it.
Right.
So is there a resolution before us?
The resolution, yes. I mean, so it comes to us.
No, it's supposed to be a resolution. She's right.
But I do believe that the resolution would be before us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here discussing it.
We don't have a resolution. The agenda
Correct.
says
She's
there's
correct.
an item for discussion.
No,
so I'm curious if today's discussion will then inform the drafting of a resolution.
Correct.
And so I'm just wondering, do we need to vote today, or are we giving input and feedback that will then inform a resolution that we will vote on at a later meeting? Okay.
And that's why I had the clerk read it, because it said upon discussion.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So we're not going to, I mean, it sounded like we were deciding whether we were going to vote today or later, but we don't have anything before us to vote on
She's
today.
correct.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? See, we learning each day as we go with this, right? Okay. So Kim, Alderman Picard, you had something else?
Yeah, I would say I would have the clerk drop a resolution to put into the committee then, you know, and have him do that so that the resolution could be voted on Friday and put in committee. I know I ran into the same thing on the Prop S money. So yes, I thought there was already one in front of us. So what you probably want to do is have the clerk drop the resolution for Friday's meeting. It would be first read under resolutions and assigned to the Parks Committee. That way everything's in place to vote it out. That would be what I would do. And I think you can ask the clerk, but today's one, he can have that in so it's ready for Friday's meeting. Otherwise, we're going to have 3 meetings to get this out.
I asked the Clerk Kennedy about this, and if I remember correctly, we talked about it here, and then the resolution is drafted. So yeah, because we haven't done this in 2 years because of COVID, so I needed a refresher myself.
And I think we're saying the same thing. We're saying we're discussing it today, then we'll have it put on the for the full board on Friday, and then it comes back to the committee, and then we vote. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would if it were me, and only because I screwed up on the Prop S thing, and I had to learn. But my thing is, I would go ahead and get a hold of the clerk, unless he's on this, and Sharon Tice might know, but I believe if you talk to the clerk, he can draw this up and have the resolution to approve whatever comes out of this committee. That's my suggestion would be I would talk to the clerk, you know, to find out. But I do think that, you know, and I think Alderwoman Tyus might have a different suggestion, but you know, from what I know of, I would just ask the clerk to draw up the resolution so that it's introduced and in committee, but Sharon Tyus might say something differently. I would ask the clerk.
Alderwoman Tyus.
He's correct. And in fact, what I was going to say, if you get it done before, what time do we have to have it in at 11? If it's already drawn up, we can use.
Today's Wednesday, so she's got till, oh, is it? No, you're right. It's 11 today. You're right. Never mind.
Thank you, Alderman Vaccaro. The name is Tyus. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, if we could get it done by 11, we can use this draft that we have, and then we can add and change in committee. And then, but we can have that introduced by Friday. If you don't get it by 11, I'm sure everybody will suspend the rules to let you get it done and introduced. Then you call another meeting next week whenever you want to, Wednesday. We will put whatever we have in there. If there's other things to add, we can amend the resolution in committee. When we vote for the final vote, that is the end of it. So we can have it done next week.
Thank you.
This is Greg Hayes. I have one question. Perhaps it's a detail. I don't recall in the past if it's one resolution or two based upon the two funding sources. Does anybody on the call know? I assume Terry Kennedy does. Okay.
It's three.
It is three. Okay.
It's three. One for Metro Parks, 3/16, one for Metro Parks, 1/10, and one for neighborhood parks.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought it was at least two. My other question is, I know Kim sends letters early every year in the calendar year. Meetings get scheduled. I don't know I know she has a record of who attends the meetings or not. I'm not trying to expedite the meeting next week. It'd be great to have the meeting next week. But can we get clarity in advance, a little bit of clarity of who's just fine with the projects Kim's proposed, early in 2021, and who obviously has some more discussion between now and the next meeting?
Well, that's why I called everybody. And then when we had our first parks meeting, Greg, I had Kim come on, and I want to say yourself, and you all explained the whole process, because I wanted the new older people to understand what parks did. And so Kim explained that she had sent the information out. People were able to meet with her. And then when she sent me the information, then I started calling people myself. And then, like I said, then I called the BPS guys to say, okay, is this all the person? This is what they want, or what's going on? So pretty much all the people that I spoke to were okay with it. It was just some that had issues. And so I did send that information to Kim.
Yeah,
I've been in contact with some of them already.
Okay.
That's excellent, because I know there's new alderwomen and aldermen on the board. I know in the past, like Kim said, at least 2 years ago and going back, at this stage of the meeting, it's pretty much a pass through and a slam dunk, because there's been back and forth consistent communication. So I totally get that, what you're saying. I appreciate all your reaching out.
Okay, thank you. Did anybody have anything else? Because I know Greg wanted to speak on some of the questions I had and concerns I had from other alder people. Alderwoman.
I was going to say, and when we introduce this resolution Friday, that will also put people on notice who maybe hadn't had their heads up. Once that resolution is introduced, that will put the whole board on notice that we're getting ready to send that to committee and vote on it.
Okay, that bring attention. Alderman Bosley.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Chairwoman. Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's having a great day.
We are.
As long as we're living, we got one more day to try to get it right.
Yeah.
I do have a comment I want to make, and I also have a question, so I can get some clarification that may help me maybe better articulate my comment. When there is a project, or and this may be for Director Hayes or for the Commissioner Hagley, when there is a project being proposed in a particular park, is there any type of mandatory notifications that are being sent out to the alder people about those projects that they may or may that they have not approved or have not had any idea as far as the project's orientation or origination, where it originated from, origins, I'm sorry.
Let me, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Alderman.
So I know sometimes things are kind of an emergency thing that needs to be done. Residents can call and say, hey, this is a hazard, this is a problem or an issue. But generally, some of our funds have to go through BPS. I know you all also have funds that you can just use, I would say, to some degree discretionary. But is there information that is supposed to be protocol within your office that you send out to the alder people whenever there is a project that goes on in a park that they are the alder person over?
I'll start off, and then Kim definitely has the details since she meets with the respective alderwomen and aldermen. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a mandate. The word mandatory applies. I would say any emergency situation where it's an operational fix would be definitely an anomaly. But the projects that Kim presents to you are either based upon, and I firmly believe she makes a concerted effort with letters and emails and phone calls, that there would be no surprises for any project unless it's in fact an emergency, which may be post-project completion. We notify that respective alderman, or maybe at the same time. So I wouldn't say it's mandatory. Kim can correct me, but it's just it's a two-way communication. So there's no surprise with a project. And then she reaches out with proposed projects that we discuss internally with our trade staff, where they know there's problems or something needs to be repaired or replaced. So that's kind of my segue to Kim, and she may reverse course on me here, but that's my understanding.
Alderman, when we spoke yesterday, I know we were talking about Fairgrounds Park and the money that was available on hand. And when we were on the phone, I don't know why it slipped my mind, but we had major issues with the pool in Fairgrounds Park. It was not going to open. It was one of the worst with all the pools that we have. So we spent about $400,000 on that pool because it was either do that or it was going to be closed. I can't recall if I let you know that it was going to be down. I'd have to go back and look, or you can tell me. But that was the major emergency project that came out of that funding when you were looking at balances and things like that. Most everything else is they're minor things that come up. Most of the money that is spent isn't they're on emergency basis. So once these projects are approved, then there's unspecified projects on each of these, and that's the emergency fund. So if something goes horribly wrong, like it did at the pool got a brand new, all the piping underneath the pool deck, it had major electrical upgrades, and then we replaced the pool deck itself, the concrete, and the fence around the pool. So it was either that or it wasn't going to open. We had issues with that pool the year before where pipes it was patch on patch and the pipes had burst. So on these unspecified funds, that gives me the leeway to do the emergency items or the things that come through later that maybe for example, with Alderwoman Tyus, if that request for the ballards came through later in the year instead of right now before we're signing off on this, if we're having an issue and it's a safety issue or something like that, then we would do a project like that under unspecified funds. But most of the projects that are done through the year are approved on this list, or they're a health safety emergency type situation. You're on mute.
Thank you. I appreciate all the hard work that goes into maintaining the parks. I know sometimes that, when things happen, we aren't necessarily always aware of some of the problems and issues, especially the more intricate details of them and how, they come to get worked out. So I do appreciate the hard work. But I will kind of say that if we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on any project, that's something that I personally would like to be notified about. As we spoke before, and I've spoken, I believe, to Rich Bradley, a few others there in the Board of Public Service about my intent on utilizing those funds in that park for something that can serve a greater community purpose. And, having close to $1 million and then seeing that disappear without having any conversation or notification. I don't have any emails. I don't have anything that said that we're going to spend $400,000 on this pool. When I first got in office, there was about $700,000 to $900,000 already spent on redoing the pool house, the restrooms, redoing the pipes, redoing a lot of the concrete around the pool also. So that was just shy of 3 years ago, maybe 4, somewhere around there. Like I said, it was immediately when I got in office, those things were taking place. So I'm commonly starting to see that when we knock out issues and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on them, we come back the following year or two and have to redig up and redo some of that work that we've already contracted out because something wasn't done correctly or we didn't go as deep into the problem as we should have. So we won't be spending funds on the same project or what people, my residents, would consider the same thing. They don't know that was $400,000 spent on the pool to keep it in operation. All they see is that for a few years, there hasn't been many projects from their eyes going on in the park, and I articulated to them, this is the reason why. I've had folks come out and look at that bear house. We're trying to preserve that, put some funding into it so it can be remodeled or renovated, whichever you want to call it. Those are things that they have been looking for and looking towards. And, me not being able to say that, hey, we had to spend this X amount of money on this project and something did just happen in the park, puts me in a situation where, once again, our residents are just waiting for something to be done. And to them, it seems like nothing is being done. They still have trash on the ground, which is not your problem or issue. That comes from people driving down the street. The Parks Department, I believe, does do a great job of picking those things up. If not, it would look much, much worse than it does, especially with all the traffic we get along Natural Bridge and Grand. So, that there's an issue for the residents who visually see that is something that hasn't been taking place, and that feeling could be warded off by seeing other upgrades within the park where they see things that they didn't see and they've been waiting for some manifestations over the last few years. And that's a good trade-off. Yeah, I may see trash on the ground, but we got these new lights, or we got this new thing the Alderman's been talking about. That's great. Let's just pick up around it. That's, for me, that's very, very important. If we're going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we've had conversation, and there is an understanding of what I'm looking to spend these funds on, which is why we haven't had many projects. I like to be aware that there's a proposal to spend that amount of money. I probably would have asked for some type of some type of documents or showing exactly what needed to be done, and got a balance of exactly what it is that we were going to be spending money on. And especially because it was during COVID, most people want to be inside of a pool, or some of our parks were closed. We weren't having really close, intimate places open where people could catch COVID. So I probably most likely would have left that money sitting and waited for these other 100 and something thousand funds to come down to the regional park fund, and would have utilized that to do a larger project this year. At least get started on that bear house, which is what we've been trying to do for some time, just wait until we had enough money in the bank to where it can make an impact and can be utilized for the time being until we continue to build on to that actual structure. So, in the future, and, I'm gonna put this on record also for you, Director Hayes, projects like that, regardless of whether they're an emergency or not, I like to be involved. I like my residents to know what are going on, because we have plans, we have community meetings, and they may not always be something that I come back and articulate to you all until I'm, ready to take some time with you, because you work with 28 other alder people. So when I come to you about something, I like to have most of what it is I need together so we can just go ahead and move forward with some things. I like to talk to my community, to have community input. So there isn't, just a thought that I'm throwing out there, but there's some support behind it. And this is something that we like to move forward with. So, with that being said, I would like those documents and what company did the work. I'd like to know when that start date, when it happened, when it started, when that project also was completed, and on exactly what we spent those funds on. And once again, that it sounds exactly like the project that we did the 2 previous years, utilizing the pool. The fence was also put into that contract, I believe, that the first year when they did the bathhouses and they redid the front of the pool area and put the new lights out and the new gates, which looks great. But once again, that's a lot of money, and for any project that large a scale, I would think that isn't necessarily an emergency. That's something that we should have some conversation about so we can get some direction on how impactful it would be. Some of my residents don't use the pool. And that's not to say that it shouldn't be in operation. I want anything that we have there for recreation to be operational within the area, but I also want the residents to be a part of that process and saying, hey, we need to spend this on that, or at least make them aware of what the decisions could be. Therefore there's some communication, and I'm just not, here saying we got this and we got another 100,000 coming or 200, give it a few more months, or, those are things that I tell my residents. So, now I have to go back to them and talk to them about something totally opposite of what we've had conversations about over the last year and a half, because I was not aware that those fundings were spent. The last time we had conversation on exactly what was in the park, which was July, I believe, 2020, that was $700,000 there. That you sent me in an email request and trying to figure out exactly what those regional park funds looked like. So, once again, with that being said, I do appreciate all the hard work, but I would like to be notified when there are major upgrades. To me, that's an upgrade, even though it's some sort of a renovation because it broke down. It's an upgrade. We're upgrading the pool infrastructure. We're upgrading the pipes underground. If there was a leak and that's something that could have sufficed for some time, I probably would have said, let it leak for a second. I don't know, because I wasn't not aware of the details and how damaging it would be had we not gotten it fixed. So I do appreciate you all taking a proactive step so the pool wouldn't be down 4 years and it would be in operation for this upcoming year. But I would like to be notified in the future of any large scale projects that we're looking at doing there in the ward. So again, I appreciate you all, and thank you for your time. Thank you, Chairman.
I appreciate your comments, and they're valued, Alderman, for sure. And, we can certainly provide you with any information. I don't know if you met with Kim when she sent the letters offhand, but that doesn't matter. That's okay.
I didn't, and that's on me. I didn't. I was not able to meet with her, and I did not respond to the emails, particularly about the other parks. But
sure,
and that's because I have ideas of exactly what I want going on. It was a little bit of different time, but either way, I'd 100% take all of the responsibility and not sitting down with that meeting. But with the information that was sent out, none of those things were articulated on the upgrades that could have been processed. As far as the line items and what we wanted to do in each one of the parks, there wasn't any line item that talked about, because I do read the information that you're saying, but there wasn't anything about the upgrades in Fairgrounds Park. There wasn't anything that I needed to approve specifically for those upgrades to take place either. So those weren't on the list this previous, fiscal conversation. And once again, which is why the reason I'd like to have some sort of a timeline on when these things conspired.
I can definitely get that. I'll get you that. I also have the other information, most of it that you requested yesterday. So I'll put all of that in an email to you later today.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments very much.
Well, thank you also. I'm done with questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Chairwoman.
Are you ready? You're muted. Madam Chair, you're muted.
I kept saying, why isn't he responding? Director Hayes, do you have, you were gonna have comments on the questions I had sent in?
Yes, I believe the question centered on, Chairwoman, questions centered on staffing and some park rangers and law enforcement, so to speak. So I have been in contact with Lieutenant Amy Parker Staten. We work closely with Sergeant LaFolia Hall and Sergeant Brant Flowers. The reason I'm throwing their names out there is because they're very helpful in terms of working with us. I don't manage, Kim doesn't manage the park rangers, that's well established, but we do communicate with them often. I was remiss, I want to thank you for scheduling the parks tour. I think we attended or visited 5 parks. I thought it was very helpful to us, and hopefully you considered it helpful to you, mutually beneficial. It's nothing better than seeing something in person. So going back to law enforcement, obviously things happen in parks. Some parks have more problems than others, but we are in consistent communication with them. I do not know the number of park ranger vacancies they have at present, but typically they've had around 5, and I think they're staffed up to right around just shy of 30 rangers. So we do ask them to, when we hear of something, we are reactive. We ask them to please check it out quickly. And so I did tell Lieutenant Parker Staten about our tour. So the gist of what I got from her is, if you have an emergency, contact us at the ranger station. Of course, if it's something beyond that level where it's a real serious issue, 911. But anybody can contact me about general nuisance problems, Kim and me, and we relay it right to them, and we're on the same page at all times. So I hope that helps to know that we are in constant contact before that parks tour and after. And if there's any questions, I'm not going to say I don't manage them, so you have to ask her. But if there are any general questions about law enforcement, so to speak, with park rangers, I'd be happy to try to tackle those. They do have very limited law enforcement capacity because they typically will call St. Louis PD if they have something beyond parking violations or such.
Well, I think my concern was, and I was really thrown for a loop when I found out that the park rangers really don't have any authority. They only can write tickets. And so I'm looking at parks and wards that is calling for more than just ticket writing. And so we need enforcement in those parks. Alderwoman Martin, she was one of the parks that we visited and the issues that she had been talking about. And so I was going to bring Isom and Hayden to a meeting to see how we could look at the marshals, if they could play a role in assisting in our parks. Because I know personally it's a challenge to get park rangers into parks, especially in certain areas. And so I think that us relying on them to do the job and they don't have any authority, it's not helping the situation. It's the same thing with the bathrooms. We can't wait until the issues are there. We have to be proactive to address the issues. So that's why I'm asking for them to come to the table to say, okay, how can we relook at how to monitor the parks? Times are different. as Alderwoman Tyus said, people driving up on the grass. And so, yeah, the park ranger might give them a ticket. So now my question, what impact is that having if they write them a ticket for that? But we don't have enough park rangers. So then that's a whole nother issue. So her parks might not even be monitored because they're saying we don't have the manpower to do what we need to do. So I just want to get more clarity because I didn't know that the park rangers were under the police department. Yes. I thought that was a total separate unit. And then when I talked to the young lady that's over the parks, park ranger, she said, well, we're under the police department. And I was like, well, this is not even making sense. So I just feel as the chair, we need to put a request in for them to come in to explain to us, see how we can get better protection in our parks and reduce some of the issues that's going on. And I think if we become proactive, even though we're coming up on the winter, it might slow down, but some of the issues that's going on in some of these parks, they're not going to slow down because that's where their comfort zone is. And so we have to make them uncomfortable in these communities. So right. That's what I'm thinking about.
Well, Alderwoman, yes, and I totally agree with you. Kim and I would really enjoy being part of that conversation since they're called park rangers. So it's clear where they're spending all their time or need to in 110 parks. They went back under police control, so to speak, in 2013 when local control commenced, so to speak. I will say, about 3 or 4 years ago, this is just commentary, but for some reason, a sergeant in the police department over the Rangers then specifically called me and asked for my assistance, thinking I guess I would be persuasive and get with the city councilor's office to give them more teeth, so to speak, the Rangers. We were making some great inroads, and then it just died on the vine. I do not know the particulars. I went to the higher up, I guess, at the police department then 3 or 4 years ago. I was working directly with the city councilor's office on that. And I think the final decision was we weren't going to increase their law enforcement capability. So we're back to square one. I was trying to be helpful. I'm not an attorney, but I was working closely with them. So that would be great to give them more enforcement. Takes a lot of weight off the police department, and it allows them to do something when they're actually there to address something. So I've been a big proponent of that. But I don't call those shots. Or excuse me, I don't make those decisions. So I always say it. We just hope folks would be respectful of our beautiful parks, but it doesn't always happen.
Right.
So that's kind of where we are. Be happy to. I think the next step is a discussion. I don't want to tell Director Isom he needs to meet with me, but if we arrange that, it'd be great. It'd be a helpful discussion. Just get an update between parks and the Rangers.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much.
Sure, and I do have some staffing, unless there's any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Director Hayes? Okay, so you have staffing.
Yes, so just an update. I'll try to stay out of the minutia, but across our department, which is Parks, Rec, Forestry, Brightside, and Soulard. Soulard only has a couple custodians and a per performance market manager. We have just shy of 40 vacancies. So we have jobs that we hope folks are interested in. I attended the Wesley House last week, stopped by, I should say. I heard there were over 110 applications filled out when I was there, about halfway through the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. job fair. I know, Alderwoman, you had an event in Gregory Carter Park, which we supported. I don't know if we had staff per se, but we assisted with the efforts. Hopefully that was successful. Mm-hmm. We have just a couple highlights. We have 12 tree trimmer vacancies at present. So we have 17 tree trimmers working for us, and we have 29 in our TO. So that's and then we have a couple other forestry foreman and urban forestry superintendent vacant. And so Forestry's got about 15 permanent vacancies. Kim Hagley in Park has about 17. She has a carpenter vacancy, a gardener, 3 HEO heavy equipment operators who run the trash trucks. So we have 2 plumber vacancies. So for about 4 years, we have 1 plumber handling 110 parks. So help us, please, if that gentleman retires. And I believe he's talking about it. So, and we contract out plumbing when we need to, instead of just saying we can't do anything. So, and recreation has a couple recreation supervisor vacancies, a recently vacated recreation 2 supervisor because someone was promoted. And so that's kind of the gist of where we are. Yeah, I think everyone on the call knows we were here months ago, and we still remain just shy of 40 vacancies.
So my question is, and I keep asking this to every department head and commissioner, when Refuge did their bonuses, were you all offered that same benefit to do the bonuses to get people to come in?
I believe that was I know it was discussed. I don't think it's reached fruition in terms of, because we have heavy equipment operators as well. Kim, do you know if that, because that comes directly from the Department of Personnel, do you know if we have the opportunity to offer the same incentives that Refuge does for the same exact positions?
No. And in fact, 2 of those positions, those vacancies that I have, are people who went to Refuge. Okay. To get that bonus,
which is counterproductive. But at the end of the day, we have the same positions. Refuge has way more drivers than we do, but when you have a handful, it'd be nice to keep them.
But I guess the challenge that I'm having is, it should have been across the board. It shouldn't have been one department. It should have been across the board and offered to all departments, because that's why we're in this situation with our overgrowth of lots and vacant properties, is because it wasn't across the board. So Alderwoman Tyus.
I want to apologize to Forestry. So the chair of streets, who I know intimately, raised a whole bunch of hell about not having drivers, and used to be the chair of public employees. So she went to personnel, and that was one of the ideas that she floated and that got done. Okay. And so we worked on that because we were so understaffed with people to pick up the trash. And so I did not intend, I was laughing because the intent was not to take away from Forestry, because Forestry knows, and the director knows, that I have been a arch supporter. I mean, I have supported Forestry throughout. So the intent was not to try to scavenge drivers from another department. It was to bring in more drivers, because across the city, we were having a trash problem. So I would suggest that you and I go back over to the personnel department and make that suggestion, that they also add Forestry to it. I'll be glad to support you. At the time, I was just trying to figure out what we could do to get more trash truck drivers in there, because that was just such a problem. And then they did accept what my recommendation, and they made the $3,000 bonus offer. And I had gotten that from when I was the chair of public employees. We actually gave the police officers a $6,000 raise across the board. And so that is often stuck in my craw, because I felt like that other people deserved that. So anything I could do to give some money to other employees, I did. But I did not mean to cannibalize Forestry for trash and refuse, because I think they are equally important. And I am sorry about that.
Alderwoman Tyus, with all due respect, just point of clarification. I appreciate your comments about Forestry. The heavy equipment operators in question would work for parks.
Okay, I call them all parks, Forestry, whole department. Okay, but whatever it is, we can go, and I want Forestry and parks to have more people. Right. So
thank you.
You know, I have been making that argument also. It just so happened that everybody was unilaterally affected about what was going on with trash, so they heard that. They heard that plea, but we should go, I will go with you, and we should go and make a plea that also happens, parks and Forestry, because I think that Forestry needs a lot more equipment and a lot more drivers.
And I would go also with you all. Right. So is there anything else, Director Hayes?
No, other than thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, Kim, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I don't have anything.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm on point. At that point, we are, the recommendations, what I'm hearing is the recommendations is to go to the clerk to do 2 resolutions, 3 resolutions. Okay, 3 resolutions from the Parks Committee to take it to the full board, correct? You all have to walk me through because you know,
Yeah.
Okay, because
Yes.
I'm still learning.
But I would do that soon because you would need to have it by before 11. The Alderwoman from the 1st, Alderwoman Tyus is correct. You
could just suspend the rules, I would say. I think everybody would suspend the rules to let you offer it. So if you get it done sometime today or tomorrow, I don't believe there would be anyone who would be opposed to the parks resolutions being introduced. And you just let the clerk know you intend to suspend the rules to introduce them if you don't get it done by 11.
Okay.
It would just be, it's just a little harder because then you're going to have to get up during resolutions and ask to suspend the rules, you know, for each one. The other one, all you're going to do is just say, I'd like to refer that to committee. But
Chairwoman, I actually have those resolutions from previous years and I have them electronically. So what I can do is update them and send them to you. And I'll do that right after this call because that way you don't have to recreate the wheel.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. And so on that note, do we have any other discussion in regards to item number 1? Do we have any announcements? Okay. Any excuse? We don't have any excuse all the people because all the people were present. On that note, I'd like to call our meeting adjourned. Could somebody adjourn our meeting?
I will make a motion we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your help. Thank you, Alderwoman Tyus and Alderman Bakari.